Hey, my name is Wildzilla, and today we're taking a look at the Transformers War for Cybertron video game, not that Netflix show, Studio Series 04 Gamer Edition Megatron. I have a weird habit of saying their entire name, but I don't really care. Let's just get on to the figure. The painting and sculpting on Megatron is honestly not that bad. The purple accents scattered throughout Megatron's body is honestly really not that bad. I especially love the sculpted detail on the little purple parts. Although it might not be accurate to the box, I still like it. It just adds that sprinkle of detail. Speaking of detail, the mechanical detail on this fusion cannon is amazing. But the overall detail on this figure is really not that bad. Especially these little rocket things, I don't know, they're nice, they're cool. The details are also really nice on these thrusters. I'm not sure, we'll get into the transformation later. I can tell they really put a lot of effort into just making these because there's so many of them and it's just perfect. Now there are some paint splooches scattered around my figure, especially on these legs for no apparent reason. There's another spot, but I kind of forgot. But the mechanical detail is great on his face. Or just regular detail, but either way, the face is sculpted really nicely. They even added detail on the hinge joints on his legs, which is great. But I'm just saying, the overall sculpting and painting on this figure is done really well. Or they could repaint the mold to give him a more war-torn and battle-damaged look. Because I would definitely pay another $30 for the same figure. And how can we forget the obvious Decepticon logo? This is printed on really nicely. Although they could have wrapped it around like how on the box. Now since we talked about all this, let's get into his one and only accessory. Unless you want to count the fusion cannon, but that's kind of a necessity when it comes to Megatron's Michael Bay. And no, two arms combining into one cannon does not count as a fusion cannon, Michael Bay. His mace thing. I don't even know anymore. Although this weapon kinda does remind me of Gundam Barbados. And like all weapons, you just gotta plug it into his hand. Looks great, but again, I'm getting Gundam Barbados vibes. But his weapon has another peg. What's this other peg for, you may be asking? Well, my fellow viewers, there's a hole on his back. And you can store his weapon on his back. It looks great, especially when you're posing him like this. You may have noticed I have posed him, put his weapon on his back at the beginning of the video. Anyway, let's get into the articulation. Megatron has a slight ball joint at his head. I don't even know if y'all noticed that, but he has some type of ball joint. He can bend he can look up. He can look up like a not at all. Not even gonna bother making him look down because he can't. But other words, his head is on just a nice tight swivel. Arms can move out. Both of his little shoulder things are on hinges. This arm in particular has a double bend. He also has a swivel here. And his other arm, like I said, is different. Actually, never mind. His fusion cannon can also swivel. Okay. Waist swivel. He can kick up about that far, and he can kick back that far. He can bend his knee, but it's very limited. He can also swivel at his knee, and like a little pivot. But that's about it. The posability on Megatron is really good. While it is kinda limiting, I get why. Now, let's get into his transformation. Before you transform Megatron, you're going to want to remove his fusion cannon first. And here is Megatron's Cybertronian tank mode. I really do like it because it's just such a sleek mode until you flip it over. But then again, what do you expect? Birds gotta fly, fish gotta swim, and alternate modes on Transformers will always have this underside kibble. Even still, there's really not too much except the obvious body and maybe these and his head, but other than that, he really doesn't have too much kibble. Now, like I was saying about his jet propulsors, I don't know. They are excellently sculpted, and even the little seam line just blends in a way. Sadly, unlike my core class Megatron review, this Callan is frozen. But again, this is such a sleek and just overall nicely designed alternate mode. And I see why these missiles are here now. And we even get more of this sweet purple stuff flowing throughout his body, unless, I mean, it might just be his same parts of the body, just in different places. But I don't care, let me have my fun. Now, since we talked about the tank mode, we're going to get him into his robot mode, size comparisons, and final rating. Now, while I was transforming Megatron, I did just remember some things that I forgot to mention because I'm an idiot. The fusion cannon is technically parts forming because you have to put the cannon on top of his shoulder, because this is where the actual gun goes, and that's technically parts forming. I promise I'll never do this again, I swear. But besides the parts forming, the transformation is pretty simple. Alright, size comparison time. Wait, we're not finished here. I also did forget to mention this in my Bumblebee review, but every single Studio Series figure that has come out to date has a background. This is a really cool accessory considering a lot of figures don't get backgrounds. I don't really use it, but it's still there. Now we can get into size comparisons. Here's Megatron next to my two previous reviews. Two of my possible next reviews, you'll really need to vote. And here he is next to Air Razor and RC, another one that you can possibly vote for. Please vote. Now, do I recommend Megatron? Yes, I do. Megatron is a really good figure. He scales well with a lot of other Voyagers, considering he is a Voyager. And he's pretty game accurate. But yeah, that was my review on the Transformers War for Cybertron, not the Netflix version, Studio Series 04 Gamer Edition Megatron. I will see you all in the next review, whichever one you vote for. Please vote!